City in the Crescent City. From a season worse than Ebola to winning in NOLA.
Hey! It's our friend Alec Lewis from The Athletic, ladies and gentlemen. He's an elite football mind, and he's nice enough to join 9 to noon each and every Friday at the Friday Football Feast. Today, Buffalo Wild Wing Savage at Alec with a C, at Alec_Lewis via the X machine. Follow him as 9 to noon does, please. He covers the team, writes about football for The Athletic and theathletic.com.
I'm kind of nervous.
Also has a podcast called The Alec Lewis Show. It has its own Twitter spot, and here he is. Why are you nervous?
There's so many people here.
He just said there's so many people here. That's all of you.
I mean, it's honestly, it's like every person who lives in Savage is in Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah,
and I say that Savage might be gigantic. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, you drove here from Andover.
Wherever.
So Andover is a developing, building community with some very good high school sports programs. Savage has just been a little more deeply rooted and stuff like that. So it's eye-opening.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was standing at practice maybe 2 days ago, and there was another media member that came up. He's like, "So where do you live in Andover?"
Really?
And I'm like, I don't even know where Andover is.
Well, how is Ahmad Hicks? I haven't seen him in quite some time.
No, that's your favorite bit. Congratulations. That was an early. I didn't know you were going to go there that early.
Okay,
your hair looks good today.
Thank you. As do your glasses.
Hey, Charch, how are you?
Good.
What'd you just quickly? What'd you think of Green Bay and Detroit last night? I know you watched the whole thing, and I noticed you were tweeting.
Yeah, I tweeted a little bit. I can't understand why. Like, one of my big things as I watch some of these games is teams that call timeouts to save 5 yards, like on their own side of the field. Yeah. Like, let's say it's 3rd and 9, and the clock's running down. Like, why are you calling a timeout that you might need at the very end of the game to save 5 yards? I don't understand that, so I was tweeting about that. What did I think about the game in general? I mean, I was texting with a buddy, and he's asking, like, do you think Ben Johnson is, like, that good?
Well, how is Greg McElroy?
Yeah, no.
I haven't seen him on TV in quite some time.
You're unbelievable. My buddy was asking me, like, do you think Ben Johnson is as great as everyone talks about, or is he just a benefactor of the talent they have? And my response was, like, just because you have that amount of talent doesn't mean you get as creative as he gets, but you are able to get as creative as he gets because of the amount of talent that he has. So I think their offense is just absolutely phenomenal. I think Jared Goff's playing really well. Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, I know the Vikings liked him in the draft. They would have loved to have him, and you can see why.
And he's an ancillary piece these days.
Well, I mean, they all are. Tim Patrick, Sam Laporta,
that's a great point.
the guy, everyone, they're all ancillary pieces, and they're all such good ancillary pieces.
Right. Yeah, on the game-winning 4th down, the aggressive 4th down leading to the field goal, Amon-Ra St. Brown was on the sideline. So, like, they're all ancillary pieces.
You know, their quarterback can be, too. There are a lot of games where he throws, like 22 passes.
And Penei Sewell throws 9.
Right, exactly. By the way, Penei Sewell, the great stat. I don't know if you've seen this.
Yeah, he's unbelievably good as an offensive lineman, by the way.
He's been sacked more than he's given up sacks. He has 1 sack allowed.
They ran that play on Thanksgiving with him throwing. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what are we?
How much fun is that?
A Penei Sewell mock or faux jet sweep where he's going to plant and throw. Dan Miller, their Vox, was on 9 to noon yesterday, and he said the inside joke with that was, no, everybody knew he wasn't going to throw because Penei wants to run because he wants to go beast mode Marshawn Lynch or Mark Bavaro for the old schoolers. He wants to drag people and, like, not go down.
And he could have done it. I mean, the thing, watching them play, it's kind of like been the Wolves of late. Like, you've watched them and you talk to Chris Finch every week, and the narrative recently has been like they're having fun again. They're playing with, like, when I watch the Lions offense, it just looks like they're all having so much fun. I think that's a big part of it. Now, the Packers, I think they do I'm very impressed by their run game all year.
Me too.
They're doing some really creative stuff with Josh Jacobs. And then Jordan Love, I cannot figure out the guy. Sometimes I think he's, like, incredible.
Yep.
Sometimes I'm like, what? I guess, did he not see it? It's hard to figure out. So really,
still young.
Really good game. Yeah, he is. And I think he's good, but really good game. I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Let me ask you guys this about Ben Johnson, all right? Because I'm not one who's like, I looked in his eyes and I saw this level of consternation So we sat down, and I just knew he had anguish.
Right. The discretion is not the better part of valor.
Right. Well, if I actually knew that and had that piece of discernment, valor would be the better part of discretion.
Whatever that means.
Every time I saw Ben Johnson last night, he had a bleep-eating, like small grin on his face, where he was kind of like, I'm so much better than all of you that I'm disappointed on this David Montgomery screen for a key play late in the game that somebody actually touched him. Okay, I'm frustrated that we worked this so hard. Nobody's supposed to touch him. And he actually was tackled. And it's like he walks on the sideline after big touchdowns going, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, what? Who now? What? You know what I'm saying?
He's kind of like, I mean, I was trying to, as you were talking, I was trying to think of the analogy, but like sometimes I think of him like the scratch golfer who's like so good that when you play with them in like a recreational round, they're like trying flop shots and all these you're like, dude, if you just played how you play golf, you'd probably shoot like a 68, but you're just messing around, and I'm kind of it's kind of demeaning to me. That's kind of sometimes how it feels with the way they run offense. So
man, maybe he just had some snot-nosed kid to him last night. Like he just had bully snot-nosed kid on the playground look to him last night because he's like thinking, I'm better than all of you. And I've heard about Matt. I've heard about the guy in the cornfields. I've heard about the good-looking guy from Arizona who ended up coordinating Jaden Daniels. I've heard about the Super Bowl winner at SoFi. I've heard about them all. I'm better than all of them, and so are these guys. Watch this. It just seems like he has a little of that to him.
Well, and it's Dan Campbell down, right? I mean, Dan Campbell has no regard for you. He is going to humiliate you. He is going to, shove his offense down your throat. He'll be up by 20, 30. It doesn't matter. His starters are out there. Week 18 in a game that means nothing to them. Here are our starters, and we're going to go beat you down again. Dan Campbell doesn't care, and it's matriculated down to his coaching staff.
Right.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, the guy, the physicality that the thing about their defense, and I think Aaron Glenn, their DC, deserves a heck of a lot of credit for what he's done. I believe he's going to be head coach this upcoming cycle. He just kind of has that vibe, aura to him. But those guys were flying downhill. Literally, that's the cliche. They're coming downhill. It literally looked like they were running down a hill towards the line of scrimmage in terms of how fast they were getting up there. So,
like when Brian Branch hit Josh Jacobs for the 4-yard TFL and nobody touched Branch. He almost bounced off Jacobs because Josh is so thick, but he hit him hard enough. Josh just toppled.
There's some interior defensive linemen, O'Connor, and this guy was getting off the line. I was like, who the heck? Where did this guy, Zadarius Smith, first play of the game?
Wow.
He's crouching, sacks. It was
when Zadarius Smith is engaged.
Yeah, you're right.
When he's healthy and engaged, he's as good as anybody in the NFL. And I know what I just said. When Zadarius Smith is engaged and healthy and tries like he's trying now, he's as good a rusher as anybody in the NFL.
And what better coach to make sure you try every play than Dan Campbell, right? I mean, if you want the ultimate motivator who's going to keep your motor running. He is the ultimate guy for that. And we love Kevin Stefanski, but I don't think it's the same level of intensity, right?
Yeah. No doubt. My thing, was interesting, with all the Dan Campbell fourth down stuff.
Yeah.
The way I always view those types of decisions are, what does the other sideline want you to do? And what do they not want you to do? And whatever the answer to that is, it's kind of like when an MLB manager pulls out the pitcher in the fifth inning who's dominating, and you're like, Rocco, why are you pulling that guy out now? The other opposing lineup cannot do anything. That is always my test for that type of stuff, which is not backed by analytics. But I thought, knowing what that defense, kind of the amount of players they were missing, to approach that game with the overall strategy of we have to be as aggressive as possible and we have to lean on our offense. That is something and I said this on my podcast earlier this week with Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores. The thing that there's so many aspects that separate these guys, but one of them is they have a vision for how they want to play the game, and they don't deviate from that unless they see during the game the strategy has shifted and we have to adapt to that. And I think some coaches have a feel for how to do that, and some don't. The Vikings staff obviously does.
I want to go to the Vikings game here. Aaron Jones, is he one fumble away from a protracted benching?
I think that already happened.
Yeah, there definitely was a little bit of a benching in that game.
It seemed like he was out almost a quarter, right?
There's no question. But the thing for me, I mean, the turnover aspect is so interesting because, like, he caught that ball in the check down. He didn't, like, fully have it secured, but he had it secured enough to where it wasn't indeed a fumble. But,
right.
like, if, let's say he drops it 3 milliseconds earlier, then it might just be an incomplete pass, and then does the fumble problem? Like, this stuff, it's such a narrative type of thing where if you have 2 fumbles in the span of 2 minutes, now it's this, he's got the this major problem. I will say, like, if he fumbles on the first possession of the game Sunday, then he will be sat down without question. There's no excuse for it at this point. This team has turned the ball over, I think, 53 times since the beginning of last year, which is like the most in the NFL. And that is the most important stat to winning. It's boring, it's not sexy, but if you turn the ball over and you don't take it away, you're going to lose games. So whatever they have to do to mitigate that, whether it's benching Aaron Jones, if it happens again, I think they're going to have to, like, go that route because it's that important of a statistic.
The Vikings lead the NFL with 18 interceptions, but they're just 8th in turnover margin because they rank 29th in fumbles lost. And, almost 1 per game. And most of that's on Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
So,
that's my, like, people asked me maybe last week, like, what is your biggest concern for this team down the stretch? And I start there, like, with the offensive turnover. Sam Darnold has kept the ball out of harm's way for the most part for the last 3 games. Now, will that continue? I think everybody would love it to continue. I look at Jesse Bates this weekend, and I'm a little concerned that guy who is a ball hawk over the middle might be able to take it away. So, to me, mitigating the turnovers offensively, that is like, if you're asking me my biggest concern down the stretch, that's where I start.
Jonathan Grenard was named NFC Defensive Player of the Month of November. He had 4 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, a fumble recovery, and a pass defended. Your thoughts on Grenard winning?
I mean, Jonathan Grenard, it was deserved. Like, this guy has been, and we talked about this earlier this week.
I like how you framed up your story where it was like defensive players of the year or stud pass rushers. Okay, Micah Parsons, T.J. Watt. There was another one in there.
Myles Garrett.
And even got down to Max Crosby. It's like, Jonathan Grenard, a majority of people, I believe, sitting in here who probably all play fantasy football, they may know Texans, but they probably don't know Grenard and all those sacks he had and everything. It plays into what you're saying now. That was a good piece of work.
That was kind of like my thought earlier. Like, if you ask every person in this building and every citizen of Savage, Minnesota, Jonathan Grenard, who is this guy? Last year, I really can't imagine many
1 in 100
people
maybe
would know. But you watch it is every aspect of what he's doing. It is what you can see, like, in terms of sack production. It's what you don't see in terms of the way he plays the run. It's what you don't see in terms of his impact in the locker room. The one aspect that differs with him as opposed to Daniil is he is a very vocal guy in the locker room, and they have lost a lot of that type of they lost Jordan Hicks, was a big leader in the locker room. Lost Eric Kendricks, big leader in the locker room. Patrick Peterson. These were very vocal guys. You need somebody to fill that void, and he has done that while also being as productive as he's been and playing as many snaps as he has. Like, I can't think of a reason that this guy shouldn't have won that award, and I can't think of a reason why he's not talked about among the elites in this league.
Right, and he's not, by the way. I mean, nationally, this is all below the radar stuff. Which maybe that will change if the Vikings. As the Vikings continue to play at this level, they keep winning games. Maybe Grenard ends up being a little more nationally visible. But right now,
if I'm spotting up on this, looking for fat of all fat odds, I'm spotting up on Van Ginkel, and here's why: the numbers are similar. The under the radar run work, I don't know, may not be the same as Grenard.
He's good.
Yeah, Alex put a lot of work into both of them, from a nuance related standpoint. But Andrew has the touchdowns. And I thought with the team they most recently played, Arizona, like some of these teams of late, including Atlanta coming up, there's so much short game. Chicago's who I was thinking of. They fire Waldron, and then downtown Thomas Brown, everything is super short. We talked about it at the feast. Super short. I thought Van Ginkel was going to jump one in that game, and he almost did, but Caleb hitched and then threw it over him on the screen right. Well, I think the Falcons are either going to run the ball a ton or they're going to put Kirk on a lot of short stuff in this game to try to get him going. for Van Ginkel to win at like 20, 25, 30 to 1, something like that, he needs one or two more
touchdowns,
pick sixes or defensive touchdowns.
I've started to have this thing called like the Van Ginkel test where like this guy does not miss tackles. So the test is like how athletic and elite of a creative quarterback is it if they can get around Van Ginkel? Like Caleb passed the test, Kyler Murray passed the test, but nobody really, and I can promise you Kirk Cousins is not passing that test this weekend. But yeah, I mean, Van Ginkel and Grenard, like what they have done together with the free agent money that this front office allocated to them and the vision that they had for this, to be able to have these guys, they're playing the 4th and 5th most snaps among all edge rushers in the NFL. So they are producing a ton, and it's just you just can't credit these guys enough for the job that they've done, and then you can't credit enough for two other things. For the way that they are playing team defense, like that, I think that's the other thing of why Grenard isn't as heralded, because this defense, like sometimes it takes selflessness, sacrifice, where you're not getting that really the notable stat.
Sure.
So you have to kind of buy in to do the hard thing that nobody ever notices, and it takes a selflessness and it takes a buy-in of the coaching, and that's why this thing has been as effective as it's been.
Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel, since these are the guys we're talking about, have the second most combo sacks in the league, behind only Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, and they're only half a sack back. So that is a storyline that's been fun to follow all year.
Well, think about the resources that one team used for their two edge rushers and what the Vikings use. Danielle Hunter is getting paid $20+ million a year, and Will Anderson was an extremely high first-round pick. That was, I believe, there was a trade of multiple picks to get him.
Yep.
Whereas Van Ginkel is like a $7 million guy, and Grenard's like, I think from a cash spent standpoint, he's like a $9 million guy this year. So you're getting comparable production at much less of a cost, which is what you have to do if you're taking on as much dead cap money as they were when they let go of Kirk Cousins. So it's part of the reason why it's been so successful.
Go ahead.
You tweeted yesterday.
Oh, boy.
Sam Darnold has 9 games with a passer rating of 100 or higher this season, which is tied for the most in the NFL. Only 2 Vikings in quarterback history have 9 in a full season. I did not know this. Brett Favre and Dante Culpepper.
Well, I actually think that tweet might have been last week, and I believe he had a 100 passer rating game on Sunday. So that puts him at 10, which is tied, again, only with Lamar Jackson in the NFL this year, and probably above Favre and Culpepper, at least alongside him again. So, yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold, you guys have talked about it, I'm sure. What Sam Darnold has done, specifically of late in the last 3 games, and late in the game, when it's like gotta have it situations, just unbelievably impressive. The one thing I will say, and I've thought about this a lot, is like you hear all the time, he's never done this. Like, I just promise you, if you were to have technology to get the all-22 film of his down the stretch in Carolina, his last 7 games with Ben McAdoo, you will see the bones of some of the stuff he's doing now. It is not like this is just surfacing poof out of thin air. Now, to get it, to have him play this way for the duration of this whole season, that is Kevin O'Connell, that is this skill group, that is the offensive line, that is his toughness and all that. But like, I just want to make it very clear, it is not as if he's just never done anything close to this. If you really go look, there were games against Tom Brady. There were games against the Seahawks. There were games where he did perform, where he did throw the ball over the middle, where he was showing off the big arm that he's shown now.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I'm telling you, if you go look at the film, like there was a 3rd down throw, I believe against the Seahawks in late in the season 2022 against Shi Smith over the middle.
Yep.
And it is he checks into the play. Like they're
with Carolina.
With Carolina, I'm telling you. Nobody talks about it, but if you really go back and look, you will see some, again, not the consistency, not the duration of it, not even this level, but you will see the bones of what he's doing now.
You mentioned big arm and downfield passing for Sam Darnold. He has the highest completion percentage on passes of over 20 yards in the NFL. Paul and I alluded to this earlier. This was the big thing that was really problematic for Darnold throughout his entire career, was downfield passing, inaccuracy, incompletions, interceptions, and that's all turned around, and now you're getting explosive, consistent downfield play from Sam Darnold, And it's just game changing.
Yeah, I believe he's the second in the NFL, or third in big-time throw rate behind Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. Those guys are pretty good.
They're good. Heard good things.
And then he's not at the top in terms of turnover-worthy play rate. So for me, the big plays, the turnovers, can you be accurate down the field? Can you mitigate turnovers? If Sam Darnold does those things, it's good. Everyone in here, and me and you and all of us are going to have a lot of fun watching on Sundays down the stretch here.
Young Alec Radio in play at Buffalo Wild Wings Savage. He covers the Vikings for The Athletic and theathletic.com. Learn more at Alec _Lewis.
It's unbelievable here.
From Buffalo Wild Wings Savage, this is your Skull Chant leader, the fan, and KFAN.com.
Double doink.
Just listen.
Time for two more.
We can't Paul Charchian making his way back to the makeshift stage at the Friday Football Feast, a Jared Wells production, Nick Madden Street Team, with a couple Jack and Ellie, who have been walking around qualifying you to win this helmet, which is right in front of
Is it signed?
Alec Lewis. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the front side of it, but it's a winter whiteout theme, and we'll be giving that bad boy away here pretty shortly into the penultimate segment of 9 to noon on a Friday from a jam-packed Buffalo Wild Wings Savage with the Atlanta Falcons next for the Vikings. I don't want to forget this because we didn't bring it up with Greenway, and I know that both of you. I'm going to say both of you absolutely know about what happened last night before the Lions-Packers game. A rube on the field, like holding a flag as part of a ceremony at Ford Field. Almost got into it with Matt LaFleur.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this.
Really? Okay. Quick
Did he yelled at somebody?
Quick social media swipe. You'll see this rube in a Lions jersey starts jawing at the Packers bench. So he's yelling at players. And I think LaFleur looked the other way until we had multiple throat slash. Like, my team is going to slash the throats of you guys.
Jeez.
Well, then a couple of players walked out. Okay, then Matt came out fast. And Joe, who's his right-hand man, and his assistant, well, Joe jumped in front of him and stopped him. Now you see security guy rolling in, and the guy wouldn't stop. The guy in the Lions jersey would not stop. Of course, he got all big, drunk, and bold when he had, 3 other people in front of him, including now, I think, referee John Hussey or somebody ran in front of them. But then he's doing I'm not kidding you, you have 3-4 Packers players within 6 feet of this guy, basically like, let's go. I don't know what he said, but then he's raising the roof with the crowd. He's like, come on, let's go. And the crowd went nuts and everything. LaFleur.
Wait, he's like, what?
Let's go. LaFleur walks back. Rube says something again. Matt turns around, goes back.
Wow.
So multiple things here. It's like, I don't even want to look at ProFootballTalk.com right now because it's going to be, it's accurate, but sometimes you just don't want to see it like you're the person in leadership and you're the head coach and you have to be bigger than that and make it elevator music in one ear and out the other and turn the other cheek. I understand all that. Unless it's from people who are not next to situations like that or something close to that, and they're throwing the tomato cans because they don't know how hot that stuff gets down there in those situations, and they do. So I'm surprised you guys don't know about that.
No, I didn't.
I think I saw a tweet about it, but I did.
Oh, you got to watch it.
The adrenaline down there. You go on the field before the game.
Oh, it has some epic to it. I'm gonna find this thing.
I don't get to go on the field before the game, but I always see you down there, and I have to imagine just the juice like in the pregame. You can probably cut the tension down there, I would imagine. The thing you said there that was most interesting to me, John Hussey, the ref.
Yeah.
So one of the refs on his crew was my 7th grade baseball coach.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
I see him on TV. I'm like, oh, Alan, Baines. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, that's sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Did you guys see that Hussey's crew did the Monday to Thursday
How about that?
turnaround?
I
That
didn't
never
understand
happened.
that.
Yeah,
Why?
Al Michaels was like, "Yep, they're working hard. 2 days off. These refs got to get back out there." Really?
Yeah, it's radio, so we're not going to do the play-by-play through it. But I just went to YouTube and went LaFleur Lions fan, which is what I did this morning. And you can and we'll watch it during break, but you can kind of get a feel.
He's yelling at this guy.
For this Rube was out there with a ceremony, I think the American flag during the anthem, and he just started acting the fool, and it almost got nasty, man.
You got to be careful when they bring the American flag out there, and like there are people they fall under the flag. They're trying to. I mean, there's a lot going on. Like I'm always thinking about that. Like you'll see. Like I think we were in Chicago, and a woman fell beneath, or in Nashville, woman fell beneath the flag. She's underneath. It gets. There's just a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. Let's go back to Vikings, the Viking-Falcon game. How's that sound right now?
I thought he was going to say, he's like, before we forget, Kirk Cousins is playing in this. I was
well, yeah. Let's. So we haven't had it. You're the only one who hasn't had a chance to chime in on your thoughts about Kirk's return here. He comes in ice cold.
Well, he thinks he's hurt. I mean, Alec wrote in a story earlier this week, like with Krasinski, where you kind of were. I mean, you played Dr. What's this Dr. bogus Chow. Doctor on Twitter, Dr. Chow or whatever. Yeah, the guy drives me nuts. But it's the credence people give him is what drives me nuts.
He's got a big following.
When he can watch something on TV and be like, well, how do you don't know that happened, man?
He's way better than most. There's just a whole little cottage industry of doctors who try to decode injuries in real time as they're happening. Yeah. Some of them are horrible, and even when they are proved wrong later, they're defensive about it and stuff. Chow's track record way better than most, fortunately. Well, and he was the one, to Chow's credit, when Christian McCaffrey got hurt, and people were showing the hamstring boing, and the hamstring had this, had the ripple through it. Yeah. And all of Twitter for a moment was like, oh my God, he just tore his Achilles. And Chow was like, whoa. No, this is not an Achilles tear. It's this that happened. And he was 100% correct. That guy, he's better than most.
Well, Alec wrote that he doesn't think Kirk is healthy, and added on to it with his turnover. And this is good. His turnover per play rate is 2 points higher than all of his 6 years in Minnesota. So we're a 2 and change up to a 4 and change. That's a precipitous jump.
Mm-hmm. There's that, but then there's also, he's been a 50% under center guy. He was throughout his entire time here. And then now he's just a 20%
that's a huge mistake. Huge mistake.
It's not I don't think it's a mistake.
I do. Wow.
I think it is his inability to run under center play action at the speed that you have to.
That's a great point.
For the rhythm and the time.
I never thought about that, and I didn't know, because Cousins under center, 5-step or 3 steps, turn your back on the defense like Matt Ryan. I mean, one of the better ones the last 20 years of the game. And then take 2 more steps, and now you're on a 7-step drop. You've got a linebacker or a safety to take 1 or 2 steps on the back turning, and they're your receiver. So they're only utilizing that 20% from under center. It's ridiculous.
And the pistol rate is way up. All you have to do is watch the tape. You guys have already said this. But he's never been a mobile guy. Everybody in here, it doesn't take an elite anything to figure that out. All you have to do is watch the game for 10 minutes. But when he is handing the ball off from under center right now, it looks like a chore. It looks like John Lewis, my father, trying to run outside to shoo the raccoons from the garbage can. I mean,
how'd your dad catch a stray in Savage, Minnesota?
Usually Paul's the one who does that.
And he's down there, Anniston, Alabama, as a lawyer, probably listening to the show, wondering, how'd I catch that stray?
I'm just saying, and here was the other point that I made when I wrote about Kirk's mobility. He cannot, sit. He cannot go out he cannot miss a game, because what happens if he does? Yeah. If Michael Penix comes in and he performs really well, then Kirk isn't going back in, and then your opportunity is zapped. So it is and the other thing I want to say, and you know this just as well as I do, Kirk is not going to play in an offense where he does not have serious say on the structure of it on the design of it. Like, Zach Robinson is a very low-key guy, pretty chill. He's worked, I know this, haven't talked to people, he's worked pretty closely with Kirk. And for as much success as Kirk has had under center, for Kirk to all of a sudden just think, let's not do that anymore, to me, I just have a hard time believing that they've just, after all his years having as much success as he's had, playing the way he's had, it just makes sense to now shift off that, other than the reality that he is coming off a very serious injury at his age. And to me, that it's a major part of what we've seen from him this year. One of the interceptions he threw on Sunday, he kind of scrambled up in the pocket, and you can just tell when he is not like in the pocket with space. It is like his alarm bells are going off. I got to get rid of the ball because he doesn't want to get hit the way he used to just take hits. And I don't blame him.
He took some of those hits in the Chargers. He took a couple of nasty hits.
He's always that, and that's one of his greatest abilities, the ability to get absolutely obliterated and get up from that. But I just think now more than ever, he's never been mobile. He's never wanted to take hits. He's always kind of checked the ball down, completion over, hunting the deep shot. But I just think it's in his head, given what he's kind of navigating as he's still coming back from this injury and just like how the injuries affected him. You can see it in his head every single play.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson is a fantastic back coming off a 32-touch game, and Paul and I agree that if the Falcons are gonna win this game, Bijan's got to be a big part of it.
Yeah, and Algier is a great running back too.
I mentioned that too.
Algier is not a great running back.
He's really good.
An effective running back.
No,
I
he's
think
better than that.
Great running back.
Okay,
he is.
Well, how do we qualify Eric Dickerson? How do we qualify
running back?
All right, how do we qualify Kyron Williams?
Very good running back.
Oh, come on. Well, great's better than very. Okay, anyway, continue.
Well, we can litigate.
I understand.
No, I think Algier is very good.
He's very physical.
The difference with this rushing offense compared to last week, the Cardinals do a lot of, and this is very in the weeds football. The Cardinals do a lot of vertical runs, gap scheme with pullers. The Falcons are very much wide zone, outside zone, press the edge, cut it back. And Bijan has the vision to make that work. And their offensive linemen are really good in run blocking.
Yeah.
The interior's not that great in pass protection. But I obviously agree with you. Any team that's going to have success against a Brian Flores defense, running the football to me is first and foremost probably on the list.
You're fantastic. I'll see you at the facility later for the old 115 KO, okay?
Thanks for doing it.
Hey, Alec's got to go. Say goodbye to him, Buffalo Wild Wings Savage. You're very kind. Our final segment, Feasting from Buffalo Wild Wings Savage, is next on KFAN. The football feast has about 3 minutes to go, and with that winter whiteout helmet that just was won by my man Phil Myers, celebrating his 40th birthday. How about that? The guy celebrating his birthday won the winter whiteout helmet.
Unreal.
That's fantastic.
Love it.
It behooves us to remind you, a week from Monday, December 16th, the Minnesota Vikings are debuting those all-white Winter Warrior alternate uniforms, complete with an all-white helmet, a first in Vikings history. All of this will take place under the lights of Monday Night Football as the Minnesota Vikings take on the Chicago Bears at U.S. Bank Stadium. And that's the helmet that we were giving away at the Friday Football Feast today.
It looks great, by the way. That's a sharp look.
All right, well, let's just straight from the heart, straight from the head, no prep with it. From 10-2, so that with this Monday night game, from 10-2, Atlanta 11-2,
win.
Chicago winter whiteout,
win.
At Seattle.
I know you're less optimistic than I am. I don't think Seattle's a complete team. That's a win.
Green Bay here.
Win. We're beating the Packers at home.
At the Lions to close festivities.
Do the Lions need that game or not?
Yes, they do.
If the Lions need that game,
the Lions will lose to either Buffalo or the 49ers, but not both.
Oh man,
in my opinion,
how great would it be if it's Week 18 against the Lions for the division and the chance to move from the 4 seed to the 2 seed or the 1 seed? Oh God, that would be phenomenal. And if this Lions team is in the same shape it is defensively that it's in now, the Vikings will go win that game.
Well, with the game this weekend, what type of game are you expecting? I know we both expect a Vikings victory this weekend, and we're not. I'm not Barney. He's not the purple dinosaur. Copyright noon to 3. We're deep into the week. We just know what we see with the adversary. Defensively, Atlanta has some things that have gotten better over the last month. They have 15 sacks, okay, worst in the NFL. And by the way, they got 5 in the last game. And they got 3 games ago. So, 8 of their 15 sacks have been in the last 3 games. That's freaking ridiculous. I can't believe, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that this deep in the season. I ain't tripping on Atlanta's defense. I like O'Connell against those safeties and Terrell and those linebackers. I think we're going to run up a fat number in this game, and so therefore I think the team's going to win. What about you?
I think the Vikings win, but I think it'll be a little closer than you think because their defense is playing a lot better lately, and their run defense, sneaky, really good.
Johnny Athletic put a score in the back and forth he and young Alec did, and that's I'm not a great score predicting mind, never have been. But that 26-13, 28-13, something like that for me, that seems right.
I think it's tighter than that. I don't think it's a 10-point margin here, but because I don't trust the Vikings to run the ball effectively. It's been a problem for a while, and this run defense is sneaky, really good.
Yeah.
And when they, anytime your offense gets one-dimensional, I think things get tight. And while I don't trust the Falcons and Kirk Cousins to have a big game here, I do think they keep it close enough in a lower-scoring game than we think it's going to be.
Buffalo Wild Wings, last chance. Vikings win the toss, defer. Here comes the Falcons offense. Alan Roach, box of all boxes, ever to box, says Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins. It's even louder now that the alcohol is set in.
I think you're right.
God bless all of you. Thank you for coming out. For Jared Wells, Nick Madden Street Team, Nordo, and Paul Charchi, and I'm Paul Allen. Talk to you Sunday from U.S. Bank Stadium. It is noon for the boom! Minnesota Vikings football is 10-2.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.